Hello and welcome back to Thoughts Per Episode Doctor Who edition for the first time on the new channel. I do have a playlist on the channel that's linking back to my old channel, or my main channel, where I originally uploaded my Thoughts Per Episode on every episode of Series 1 of Doctor Who last year. Except for the Christmas episode, because it was Christmas and I was busy, doing Christmas. But we're not here to talk about Christmas, we are here to talk about Series 2, Episode 1, what's the name of this episode? The Robot Revolution. As is tradition, I have not looked up anyone else's reactions. These are my unfiltered thoughts, free from influence from people deciding that they don't like the colour of a doctor's jacket or something. What did I think about the Robot Revolution? It was alright, wasn't it? There you go, video done, you can go home now. No, it was good. For the most part, it was good. I have my nitpicks, we will explore them, but for the most part, I really liked how we just dived right in and just had some blessed nonsense. We just had robots invading, we met the new companion, we set her forth on her journey, and we went to this world, and it was very camp in a lot of places. It was very fun. It didn't take itself too seriously until it kind of did, and then it kind of broke the illusion for me a little bit, because I really like the idea of naming a star after someone and that having ramifications in the universe of Doctor Who, and because of timey-wimey, you can have an entire advanced civilization 17 years later, all having this founding mythology regarding Miss Belinda Chantress. Is that the right name? Let me go check. Miss Belinda Chandra. And the people are named after her, and the planets are named after her, and all this stuff. I really liked the whole prospect of, the people being an uprising against the robots and finding a flaw in their programming and being able to slip in sentences every ninth word. A lot of the hows and whys of this episode are lost in time travel techno jargon, which I would have to go back through and listen to again to try and figure out, but in the heat of a moment I was just like, yeah, sure, okay, it makes sense, whatever. There was a time fracture and the planet fell backwards through time, let's just go with that. And there was some fun stuff with the idea of, like, the robots that kidnapped Belinda were technically peaceful, but because of something she said, they went back and kidnapped someone who then would have been in a timeline before the robots went and kidnapped Belinda, and therefore changed their outlook on life, and so on and so forth. As far as the morals of this story goes, yeah, sure, I'm happy with taking a shot at incels. I do think, as far as the dialogue goes in regards to a lot of that stuff, they did kind of bend over backwards just to get the phrase Planet of the Incels in there, which kind of took away from the message they were trying to convey by just being a weird, goofy thing. I think my main issue with this episode is it is at odds with itself. It wants to be camp and weird and fun, and it also wants to have this serious message about the way certain men feel about women and controlling them and such, and what happens when you put one of them in a position of power. But the grand reveal is this big, quirky, campy AI generator thing is actually Al, because the incel dude's name was called Alan, and he was hiding inside it all along, and he's kind of, you're supposed to feel a little sorry for him because every ninth word he's trying to say to help him because he's in so much pain, but also we don't care about him because we paradox him into a sperm and an egg and then hoover him up and laugh about it. It doesn't really know what it wants to be. Like, do you want to tell us a serious message or not? I'm not all that grumpy about this, it's just something that stood out to me when watching the episode. It kind of took me out of it a little bit. But to talk about something I think they did really well, I think it's really difficult to introduce a new companion in a show that's been going on as long as this, because how do you introduce a new companion and establish who they are, and establish them to the wider universe outside of the normalities of the day-to-day life that they've been living so far, without it rehashing the last 50 times we've done this? And you are in great danger of rushing things and having the new companion be okay with things a little too quickly, or spending too much time with them and it feeling like a retread. I think they did pretty good with this one. Belinda felt quite overwhelmed, but she seems like the kind of person who's very much like, okay, this is what's happening, I'm going to not go along with it, but I have to accept what's happening in order to survive and move along with the story, I suppose. I really like her as a character so far, especially in comparison to Ruby. I really like Ruby as well, but she's so different to Ruby, whereas the Doctor and Ruby felt like best mates going on a vacation across the universe. Belinda doesn't want to be there. She wants to be taken home, and she really doesn't like it when people talk down to her. And the Doctor is someone who tends to talk down to people and just assume he's the brightest mind in the room, which, even if he isn't always the best way to be. Like, she's kind of here to show us that the Doctor isn't just the perfect person. I really like the fact that Belinda's like, you took my DNA without my permission, instead of going, wow, an ancestor of mine from the 51st century? That's crazy. I did notice she got the maths wrong. She said that's like 3,000 years in the future, and the Doctor doesn't say anything, so maybe like he's learning not to kind of be like, actually, it's 30,000 years in the future, which is a good thing. But the way they did that and didn't really address it as well does make me think there are going to be people going, hang on a minute, they wrote it wrong in the script. Now, as part of the timey-wimey nonsense, they had the Doctor arrive on Miss Belinda Chantress 1, like, 6 months before Belinda? And so they have the Doctor spend 6 months there kind of meeting people, talking to them, becoming part of this rebellion. He, kind of has a future companion lined up to join him and go on adventures in space and time, and predictably she gets turned to dust very quickly. And when you want to do something like that, it's something that you need to treat right, with the right balance, because on the one hand, you want to establish that the Doctor has been here for 6 months. He's going to have made connections with people. It makes sense that he's made friends with someone and wants to show them space and time. That's who he is. And so when they die, you want that to have an impact on the Doctor, and you want that to have a big impact on the Doctor, because he's, been friends with this person. But on the other hand, he's made friends with this person off screen. And so we as the audience are not invested in this character and their death and how that affects the Doctor, and so you can't really linger on it as much as you would if you had just done an entire series set over the course of 6 months exploring this person who ends up dying at the end. But realistically, in terms of the story, they still need to have the effect on the Doctor as a character that they would have if we, the viewers, had spent that time with them. So I'm always a little iffy when they decide to do things like that, because I doubt she's ever going to come up in the story again, right? But yeah, they didn't just brush it off. They did bring it up a few times, so it's not all bad. They probably struck just about the right balance there. But also that marks the second time that we've seen this Doctor make friends with someone when he's stuck somewhere over a long period of time, and I wonder if that's going to be a running theme. We also definitely didn't see Mrs. Flood. She asked us not to tell, so we're not going to tell. But it is interesting that I don't think that was Ruby's neighborhood. I think that was somewhere completely different, so she's just inserting herself into the background of the Doctor's life here. But then clearly she's not expecting him to be there, because she kind of runs off screen when the Doctor shows up because she doesn't want to be recognised. So I guess the question we have to ask is, why is Mrs. Flood in Belinda Chandra's life and Ruby Sunday's life, but seemingly not wanting to be noticed as being in these two people's lives by the Doctor? Also, there was that interesting comment the Doctor made about meeting Belinda because of someone who pointed him in her direction, but he can't really mention too much because he has to be careful with timelines. So who is that he? Why is the Doctor interested in Belinda? Because remember, he didn't make the Monday connection from the previous series until she happened to say the day of the week, Monday. And for the record, I'm not sure there's going to be too much more to the Belinda/Monday mystery. I think it is just meant to be like, oh, this is kind of bait for the Doctor. I guess we'll see. Maybe there is more to it. I don't think they're going to do another Impossible Girl scenario like with Clara, but like, I think she is just meant to be a descendant. But yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. We're going to see where this series goes. And I am, as always, along for the ride. Overall, this episode, I don't know, it's a solid 7 out of 10. It has its issues. It was mostly fun. And I'm excited to see what they do next. If you are also excited to hear what I think about whatever they do next, feel free to subscribe to this channel, because every week I will be doing an episode on the episode of that week. Until then, it's been fun. I'll catch you in whatever I make next.